When you think about reading fluency, what skills come to mind? We often hear about rate, or how quickly a child is able to read, as well as sometimes accuracy, or how well they're able to read the passage or the story without making any errors. Both of these are essential fluency skills, but there are 4 other skills that are just as important and far less talked about. Today, we're going to show you how you can incorporate instruction to target these 4 fluency skills into your literacy lessons. Hi, I'm Michaela from Ascend Smarter Intervention, where we make research-based instruction easy and accessible. Be sure to hit subscribe so you are the first to know when we post new videos with tips, tricks, and resources that you can use in your literacy instruction. When we think about fluency, it's important to recognize that the human brain is not designed to read. In fact, there are several cognitive processes that have to come together in order for us to be able to read. Instead, our brains are designed to listen. And so when we're reading something either out loud or we're sub-vocalizing it in our head, it needs to sound as close to spoken language as possible for our best chance at comprehending it. These 4 forgotten fluency skills help support our reading to sound like spoken language. The first of the 4 forgotten fluency skills that we're going to talk about is sentence phrasing. Have you ever had a student read a sentence, and while all of the words were decoded correctly, something just sounded a little bit off? It could be that they were breaking the sentence in a different way than how we would naturally break our sentences up. So when we think about this, we want to make sure that when we're reading, our voice follows a flow with the subject and predicate, as well as the adverbials, or in an easier way to say it, the who or what, did what, when, where, why, how components of our sentence. For example, if your student read, "On a sunny day in the fall, Lily, the lizard decided to go outside and bask in the sun. The sun always felt so nice on her scales." While all of the words are decoded correctly, it starts to just make the sentences sound more difficult to follow. We want to make sure that we're supporting that sentence phrasing and breaking it into those who or what, did what, when, where, why, how, or subject, predicate, and adverbial pieces to support a natural flow and that it will sound like it is spoken language. We do have a free resource available to help you instruct your students in this sentence phrasing technique, which you can download in the description below. The second of the 4 forgotten fluency skills is reading to the punctuation. Now, have you ever heard one of your students read a story and they completely skip all of the punctuation, or maybe they read to the end of a line instead of following a sentence through to the punctuation mark? It can really start to impact their comprehension of what is being said. In this resource here, we have a sentence that will have students practice repeatedly using different punctuation marks so that they're able to start practicing how their voice should sound when they come across things like periods, question marks, and exclamation points. For example, in the sentence, "Jill will help Jan at the shop." When we're speaking it as a question, "Jill will help Jan at the shop," it sounds very different than when we are saying it as a statement, "Jill will help Jan at the shop." We start by explicitly teaching students what the different punctuation marks mean, how our voice should sound, and then we'll have them practice repeatedly as they're working on their sentences. This is going to be really important at the paragraph level too, because as students start to build sentences on top of each other, it can start to impact their comprehension if they're missing punctuation marks. For example, if I had the sentences, "Today I went to the store. Yesterday I went to the park. Tomorrow I will go swimming." If we skip around and miss those punctuation marks, we might miss the order of those sentences and say something like, "Today I went to the store yesterday. I went to the park tomorrow. I will go swimming." And it starts to sound off. It doesn't support comprehension. So we want to make sure we're reading to those punctuation marks correctly. The next of the 4 forgotten fluency skills is self-monitoring. And this relates to a student's ability to recognize when they've read something that sounds off, whether it was reading to the punctuation or their sentence phrasing, or maybe they inserted a different word than what was intended in the sentence. We have students practice this by giving them sentences that already have an error in them so that they're able to work on finding it as they're reading. This could be a sentence where the suffix changes, or maybe there's a different word inserted into the sentence. But having them practice reading them out loud and catching those errors will start to show them how they can do that in their own reading as well. The last of the 4 fluency skills that we're going to talk about today is reading with expression. Often when we hear voices that sound, again, more like spoken language, it piques our interest and it's easier to follow along with than somebody reading in a very monotone voice. When we're reading either in our own minds or out loud, we want to make sure that our voice mimics the expression that the characters would be using in the story, or that would be appropriate for the context of the passage. A few ways that we can practice this with our students is giving them a sentence that we have gone through, they know how to read, and asking them to read it in different feelings or different emotions. This might be excited or scared or angry, but they're repeating this sentence in a way that mimics the emotion that we've assigned to it. This can help them engage with the material. It's often more fun than just repeated reads of a sentence. And it helps mimic those emotions in the sentences that we're reading. Another option that you have is to give students a sentence and have them choose an emotion at random. You can have a paper with the different emotions on it or write them on the board, and then have students roll dice to get an emotion to read the sentence in or with. This can be really fun if you've got different characters that you want to mimic, or you can use different emotions again. You can also do this around different holidays like Halloween and have them read it in different voices like a vampire or a werewolf. That way they're able to use some relevant ideas or relevant events to make the fluency practice feel exciting and fresh for them. We hope you found this video helpful. If you are interested in using the activities that we showed in the video today in your own literacy instruction, you can grab all of them in our 5 core components of literacy resource library, which I'll link in the description below.